it has become a condition of people of color. It's a very colorful condition today. So our language has to evolve, right? We shouldn't be using the same term that we used to use, right? And again, it's not what they call you, it's what we answer to. And we can name it today. We can say, this is what I want to be called today. Let me show you. Let me teach you. Let me retrain you, right? Let me define myself. Thank you for your help. I appreciate you helping me. But let me define myself. I'm not HIV infected. I'm a woman living with HIV. Right? I'm not infected and affected anymore. I'm a woman living with HIV, and some of my community members are at risk. People first language. That's what we want. That's what we have to take out to our families, to our communities, and to some of the agencies and institutions who service us. They don't mean any harm by not having this language. We just caught up with it. We're the Stand Up to Stigma champions, right? People with living HIV, people living with HIV, leading the way, having meaningful involvement in people with HIV. MIPA. Nothing about us without us. Nothing about us without us. We got to be at the table. We have to be in those board meetings. We have to bring it. We have to keep pushing the envelope. Right? Donna, you had a question?
Yes. I'm a person living with a chronic manageable illness.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for that, because I have that written. I swear, I'm not lying. That's written right there, right? Chronic manageable. Let me tell you something about chronic manageable.
Okay.
It's chronic and manageable illness when they want to take our funding away.
Okay.
But when they want to lock us up, it's bioterrorism. Right? Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying about as far as that chart. Yeah, you want to add that to the chart. But as far as a policy analysis,
Right.
I keep quoting her because she's the policy rep. As far as a policy analysis goes, we have to. Which one is it? You know, the criminalization for HIV, it's exposure.
Right.
But it's a chronic, manageable disease. So we're going to take this funding. Y'all don't need no more tokens. Y'all don't need no more water filters. Remember the water filters?
Yes.
Now, I mean, when I got diagnosed, they gave me a water filter, air conditioner, refrigerator.
Yes.
Y'all don't need...
It's okay, like, what works in your house is not going to work in mine. But let's see how I can take something from your house
Yes.
to make my house feel complete and whole.
You know, when we first came in, we said that what happens here stays here.
That's right.
But what that means is our personal stuff, like the ginger thing and the personal things that came out. But this don't need to stay in. That's right. This kind of information needs to be taught in our home, to our families, in our communities. And as this group stays together and continues to expand across the nation, as we have other Stand Up to Stigma champion groups coming, and this is going to be a big tool in our big toolbox, because we have this big toolbox, right, of ways to prevent HIV and ways to fight stigma. This is not the only way, but it's one of the ways, right? And again, going back to the human rights factor, it was in 1967 that Dr. King said, I think it's necessary to realize that we have moved from an era of civil rights to an era of human rights. Could you next slide, please? So, act up.
Fight back.
Fight AIDS.
Act up.
Fight back. Fight AIDS.
So we have, and this is what we have to do. Black Lives Matter. That's a social justice movement. Act Up is a social justice movement. Same-sex marriage is a social justice movement. Raising the minimum wage is a social justice movement. So all the work that we do don't have to be HIV specific, because all of these things are factors that contribute to our vulnerability to becoming HIV positive in the first place. Anything that you do in the social justice movement is going to be HIV prevention justice. Right? So don't be afraid to venture out and have allies and fight for other folks' causes. But what you want to teach them as you're fighting for Black Lives Matter, don't forget we got an HIV epidemic in the black community. While you're raising the minimum wage, don't forget poverty is one of the factors that you can't separate from HIV. So while you're out here fighting for the minimum wage, you're also working on HIV prevention. You have to honor the work that they're doing and bring in your messaging into their work. Next slide. Positive Men's Initiative. They meet here. I think they're still meeting here. on Wednesdays at 5:30. That's another way to get involved. Next slide. Local groups like PWN Philly, a shameless plug. Next slide. Yeah, there's Asha. You come and stand up to Stigma Champions. That's a yes. Oh yeah, right. We can go back and see Asha on the front page of Prize. Was that the front page of Prize magazine? Yeah. The front page?
That wasn't on the front page.
Oh, in the middle? Okay, well,
yeah, it was in the middle. Yeah.
Awesome, right? We're down at the in DC. Yeah, that was at
top is me and
yeah. We were at the Women Make Waves March in DC, and we were at the International AIDS Conference.
23 years.
Yes.
He showed up and showed out.
And that's Donna's daughter, and we were out there with Occupy that day. We were out there with Occupy. So it was Occupy. Yeah, it was Occupy and the AIDS movement working together, right? So we just have to we have to join these local groups who are offering these kind of trainings. That's why PWN is more than a support group.